In Union Mills, Maryland, not far from Gettysburg, sits a historic homestead that for Mark Shriver is a place of homecoming.
Why is this place so important to you?
I think it's because, this is Dad's home. I mean, this is really where he grew up. He spent his summers here.
His dad, Sargent Shriver, defined public service. He created the Peace Corps at the direction of his brother-in-law, President Kennedy. And he launched the War on Poverty initiative under President Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
He was George McGovern's running mate in 1972.
Will you vote for me, too?
And he ran for president himself 4 years later.
Thank you very much.
But through it all, he seemed most proud of being a father.
There he goes. Do you see that?
Oh, yeah.
So, just as his own dad took time away to bring him to the Shriver homestead, now Mark Shriver is continuing the tradition, hunting for bullfrogs here with his own son, Tom.
Do you feel like you're connected to Grandpa a lot? Besides genes?
Genes? Yes.
Besides that?
Well, I hope I'm as good at, half as good as Dad. He was pretty good.
Sargent Shriver died last year after a long battle with Alzheimer's. In his eulogy, former President Bill Clinton asked the question on the minds of many.
Could anybody really be as good as he seemed to be? I mean, come on now.
The answer is yes, writes Mark, the fourth of 5 Shriver children, in his book, A Good Man. His brother Bobby and his sister Maria
accomplished
agree.
in his life, but I think his greatest legacy is actually the 4 boys. I think they're all good men, and I think they're good husbands, they're good fathers, they're good citizens of the world, they're strong, they're gentle, they're kind, they're mindful.
And that came from your dad?
I think so. I think, men pay attention to their fathers.
So what was it like for you being the only girl?
Well, that's a whole other book.
They are a close-knit family who, under the guidance of their father, grew up part Shriver, part Kennedy. Sargent Shriver married Eunice Kennedy, JFK's sister, in 1953. She died in 2009.
He had a fantastic relationship with the woman of his dream for 56 years. My father supported my mother in all of her goals and desires. He was a great role model about how to treat women and how to raise children.
Publicly, he was often seen as a Kennedy in-law first and a Shriver second. Balancing the two was never easy.
He wasn't competitive within the family structure.
That's a good
And
point.
I think that saved him and saved his marriage.
My name is Sargent Shriver.
While that often meant putting his own political ambitions aside, he still strived to be his own man and taught his children to do the same.
We got from him the idea of difference. The Shrivers were different. It wasn't that they were better, but they were different, and you could be different.
Thank you very much.
In politics, Sargent Shriver was as different as they come. An idealist, his kids agree, but not one to be trifled with.
Do you really believe that poverty can be wiped out?
Yes, I do. We have a war for the freedom of people and for opportunity for all people, regardless of race, color, or creed. We are saying to the world that we are committed to the pursuit of peace.
So when people said the Peace Corps couldn't happen, he made it happen. When he said you couldn't give an early childhood education to poor kids, he made it happen through Head Start. Same with legal services for poor people.
I think people made fun of Daddy. They called him a Boy Scout, they called him an in-law. He wasn't taken seriously.
Do you think that bothered him? I mean, could you tell growing up?
No, I don't know that it bothered him. It ticks me off, but I think it's he was a serious human being.
Even in times of public crisis, family came first.
I was arrested for smoking pot back in the day and made the front page of the New York Times, and he really fished me out of that situation in a strong way.
All proceedings in juvenile chambers are confidential.
He said, "You're my son, and I'm going to get you out of here. Don't worry about it. You're a good kid."
Do you have stories like that as well?
I don't have a story.
Not
of course,
being
I
arrested,
never got
but...
in trouble. So I don't have any of those kinds of stories that all the boys have.
Maria never got in any trouble.
I never got in any trouble.
Why'd you just say that?
Because it's true.
It's not that there wasn't discipline or high expectations. There were both in the Shriver family.
There was a lot of push for excellence there. So you didn't go on vacation, you read a book, or you learned something, or you went and met some people and you wrote a paper about it.
I had a friend who had just moved into a loft in the village, and I was telling the story that he said to me, wow, I'm down there and it's so incredible. I feel like when I go there, I'm on a honeymoon with myself. And my father said, well, what kind of a human being would want to go on a honeymoon with themselves? I said, well, he's just talking. No, I said, well, he's just talking, Daddy, about that he's in a calm, nice apartment and he's chilling. He goes, well, what kind of human being would want to chill in their own home and just sit there? I have no respect for that. I was like, okay, not me. I don't even know the person anymore, but...
The laughing stopped when Sargent Shriver was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. But even after that, it seemed he had a lesson to offer.
He said, you got to go internal to get eternal. And I thought to myself, whoa, it's a very powerful statement. I think his whole life was about being internal, reflection, spiritual life.
His faith, Mark concluded, was what drove everything he did. A devout Catholic, Sargent Shriver went to Mass every single day. And in those moments, Mark says, he found peace and purpose.
He wanted to be with you because he really felt like you were a gift from God. It didn't matter whether you were a big shot or just a regular person. And that's a special gift to give to me, and hopefully I'll pass it along to our kids. Can you believe that Grandpa used to hang out here in the summertime?
It's crazy.
Which gets us back to his son, Tom.
Do you see a lot of your grandfather and your dad? Do you think there's similarities?
A little bit.
What do you mean, the good stuff, or what do you mean?
What's similar?
I'd say, first off, my grandpa was way better looking than my dad.
It goes without saying, being a father is not easy. But Sargent Shriver, say those who knew him best, got it right most of the time.
For me, it's an ongoing struggle. It's tough because you want to do well, you want to set a great example for your kids, but ultimately I think the most important example is to show them that they're loved and supported regardless. And that's, I think, what I've learned from him.